Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we are on day 29 in our journey to finish the Bible in the year. I'm so glad you're here and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. We are going to be reading out of Genesis 30 and then we're going to start the book of Job, Job chapter 1. And then we'll move back into Luke chapter 14, but only verses 1 through 14 today. And then we'll close it out with Psalm 22, verses 9 through 21. So welcome, and let's get started with Genesis 30. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I will die." Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in God's place, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" She said, "Behold, my maid Bilhah, go into her, that she may bear on my knees, and I also may obtain children by her." She gave him Bilhah, her servant, as wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God has judged me and has also heard my voice and has given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. Bilhah, Rachel's servant, conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have wrestled with my sister with mighty wrestlings and have prevailed." She named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had finished bearing, she took Zilpah, her servant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah, Leah's servant, bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "How fortunate!" She named him Gad. Zilpah, Leah's servant, bore Jacob a second son. Leah said, "Happy am I, for the daughters will call me happy." She named him Asher. Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother, Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" Rachel said, "Therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes." Jacob came from the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." He lay with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire, because I gave my servant to my husband." She named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Leah said, "God has endowed me with a good dowry. Now my husband will live with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. She named him Zebulun. Afterwards she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. She conceived, bore a son, and said, "God has taken away my reproach." She named him Joseph, saying, "May Yahweh add another son to me." When Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service with which I have served you." Laban said to him, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, stay here, for I have divined that Yahweh has blessed me for your sake." He said, "Appoint me your wages, and I will give it." Jacob said to him, You know how I have served you, and how your livestock have fared with me. For it was little which you had before I came, and it has increased to a multitude. Yahweh has blessed you wherever I turned. Now when will I provide for my house also? Laban said, What shall I give you? Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed your flock and keep it. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted one, and every black one among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. This will be my hire. So my righteousness will answer for me hereafter, when you come concerning my hire that is before you. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the sheep, that might be with me, will be considered stolen. Laban said, Behold, let it be according to your word. That day he removed the male goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white in it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. He set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob took to himself rods of fresh poplar, almond, and plane tree, peeled white streaks in them, and made the white appear, which was the rods. He set the rods which he had peeled opposite the flocks in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. They conceived when they came to drink. The flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks produced streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks towards the streaked, and all the black in Laban's flock. He put his own droves apart and didn't put them into Laban's flock. Whenever the stronger of the flock conceived, Jacob laid the rods in front of the eyes of the flock in the watering troughs, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the flock were feeble, he didn't put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. The man increased exceedingly, and had large flocks, female servants and male servants, and camels and donkeys. So if you're here just learning about the Bible, the names of Rachel and Leah's sons, Jacob's sons, those names are the tribes of Israel. This is where the tribes of Israel began. So just thought I'd throw that out there for you. So now we're moving on to Job 1. Job is a very, very heavy book. There are bits and pieces that we can all relate to. Some of it we can't relate to. Some of it we can. It depends on who you are and what kind of life you've had. It is a very long book, so we're going to be in it for a little while. And buckle up. That's all I got to say. So, Job 1. Sorry. Okay, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. That man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and turned away from evil. There were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the children of the East. His sons went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday. His sons went and held a feast in the house of each one on his birthday, and they sent and called for 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. It was also when the days of their feasting had run their course that Job sent and sacrificed them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and renounced God in their hearts." Job did so continually. Now on the day when God's sons came to present themselves before Yahweh, Satan also came among them. Yahweh said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, "From going back and forth in the earth, and from walking up and down it." Yahweh said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him in the earth, a blameless and an upright man, one who fears God and turns away from evil." Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you made a hedge around him and around his house and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But stretch out your hand now and touch all that he has, and he will renounce you to your face." Yahweh said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only on himself don't stretch out your hand." So Satan went out from the presence of Yahweh. It fell on a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, that a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them, and the Sabines attacked and took them away. Yes, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another one also came and said, "The fire of God has fallen from the sky and has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "The Chaldeans made 3 bands and swept down on the camels and have taken them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, there came also another and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young men, and they are dead. I alone have escaped to tell you." Then Job arose and tore his robe, and shaved his beard, and fell down on the ground and worshipped. He said, "Naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked will I return there. Yahweh gave, Yahweh has taken away. Blessed be Yahweh's name." In all this, Job didn't sin nor charge God with wrongdoing. It's a very good lesson to remember. Praise God, no matter what, just in case you didn't hear the lesson. Luke 14, 1 through 14. I confess I'm a little unorganized today. Usually I have this all pre-ready to go. I must have forgot. All right, 1 through 14. Let me just make sure where we're going to stop. Right at the end of Jesus' words. When he came into the house of one of the rulers of the Pharisees on the Sabbath to eat bread, they were watching him. Behold, a certain man who had dropsy was in front of him. Jesus, answering, spoke to the lawyers and the Pharisees, saying, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" But they were silent. He took him and healed him and let him go. He answered them, "Which of you, if your son or an ox fell into a well, wouldn't immediately pull him out on a Sabbath day?" They couldn't answer him regarding these things. He spoke a parable to those who were invited when he noticed how they chose the best seats, and said to them, "When you are invited by anyone to a wedding feast, don't sit at the best seat, since perhaps someone more honorable than you might be invited by him, and he who invited both of you would come and tell you, 'Make room for this person.' Then you would begin, with shame, to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place, so that when he who has invited you comes, he may tell you, 'Friend, move up higher.' Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." He also said to the one who had invited him, "When you make a dinner or a supper, don't call your friends, nor your brothers, nor your kinsmen, nor rich neighbors, or perhaps they might also return the favor and pay you back. But when you make a feast, ask the poor, the maimed, the lame, or the blind, and you will be blessed, because they don't have the resources to repay you, for you will be repaid in the resurrection of righteousness." Oh, I love being reminded of humility. I personally need that reminder every single day. It escapes me sometimes. Psalm 22, 9 through 21. Okay. And again, this is a psalm by David. "But you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust while at my mother's breast. I was thrown on you from my mother's womb. You are my God, since my mother bore me. Don't be far from me, for trouble is near, for there is no one to help. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They open their mouths wide against me, lions tearing prey and roaring. I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You have brought me into the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me. A company of evildoers have enclosed me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all of my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them. They cast lots for my clothing. But don't be far off, Yahweh. You are my help. Hurry to help me. Deliver my soul from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog. Oh, when we find ourselves in such trouble, when the world is just bearing down on us, punching us in the face, kicking us in the shin, stomping on our foot. It's not new. It's not the universe against you. This is not new stuff. This has been going on for a very, very long time. And if we can just remind ourselves in the middle of it to always look up and to always hold Jesus and hold on to God, tether ourselves to Him. Let the world have us, let it devour us, but keep ourselves tethered to Him. And everything will fall into place. It may be uncomfortable and it may be heartbreaking, but if we tether ourselves to Him, it eases some of the pain because we know it's going to be okay. We know He is going to rescue us. So, with that, we're going to end our day 29. Have a fantastic day, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.